Hi guys. So going to give you guys an update on the Tuttle murders here in Houston. Um, you'll recall that the Houston police raided a home, claiming there was drug activity there, and of course, in the long run, we come to find out that it was an absolute lie. Um, and the homeowners and their dog were murdered on scene. They have finally released the autopsy results, and I'll get to those in just a second. But before I get to that, um, I wanted to go into Detective Goins and Detective Bryant. Goins was the lead detective, Bryant was his partner. Both of them were wounded and in the exchange of gunfire, and the police department had more than enough evidence to fire them. Okay, but if Chief Acevedo had fired them, they wouldn't have had their medical benefits and their retirement money and all of that stuff. So he didn't fire them. He let them take their retirement and go on about their business. So that's what crooked cops do for other crooked cops. When they murder innocent citizens in their home, they just let them go. Let them get their retirement money and their benefits because, hey, they're heroes. According to the Houston Police Officers Association, these guys are heroes. They lied on their affidavit to get a warrant. They broke into these people's homes and murdered them. And the Houston Police Union says that they are heroes. That really speaks for itself about what we're dealing with when you're dealing with unionized police. The autopsy results. Now I didn't get all of the results. They're limiting the information. But on the wife's autopsy shows she was shot in the chest and right thigh and wounded by gunshot fragments in her right thigh and right leg. She also suffered minor blunt force injuries to her nose and to the right side of her abdomen and her right arm and left leg. I'll let you guys figure out how all that happened. Remember, she is the one that was unarmed that came into the room in the midst of the gunfight and was downed. And she fell right by the first officer, Goins. She was laying right by him. When they came in and extracted Goins, they left her to die. Her wounds were not immediately fatal. She had a little bit of I'm going to screw this up. Benzo-like a metabolite associated with cocaine in her system in very small trace amounts. And she had some very minor traces of marijuana in her system. When she was found, she was crouched on the floor with her upper body resting on the living room sofa. Her husband was found some distance away on the living room floor near the entryway. That would be the hallway going toward, between the kitchen and the living room. Now, Mr. Tuttle, who was 59 years old at the time of this, a Navy veteran with no known criminal history, was shot up to 9 times. He had so many bullet holes in him, they could not get an accurate count, but at least 9. All right? At least one of those wounds was suffered post-mortem. While he was laying on the floor, he was shot in the head. And it lists the wounds as being in his head, neck, arms, posterior. And he did have marijuana in his system at the time of the autopsy, as well as some anti-seizure medication. No black tar, heroin, none of that kind of stuff. The autopsy says and this comes from a different agency than HPD, says that they recovered some prescription drugs, glass pipe, spent cartridge casings from the auto loaders that the police were using, a revolver and a shotgun from the cluttered and disabled home. Now this just confirms what we heard from the neighbors, that long after the shootout was over with, that a SWAT officer went to the side window of the house and shot Mr. Tuttle. We assumed it was Tuttle, we weren't sure, but given the location where HPD said Mr. Tuttle was, it was pretty safe to assume that it was Tuttle that was shot at that location. So they murdered him. That's it. Dead men tell no tales. Isn't that right, Chief Acevedo? Joe Grimaldi? Dead men tell no tales. Well, it's unfortunate that this is going to be a big payout for the city. The good news is everybody now sees you for the lying, murderous bastards you are. You can't hide that. That's it, guys. That's your update. So I'll see you again soon.